We're back.
Hello.
It's been a while, hasn't it? Welcome back to the Pitlane Collective Podcast. I think we're on episode 19, but I can't remember where we're up to. We've taken a bit of time off, not intentionally. There have been a few things going on.
Yeah, life, illness,
life
new
gets in the way.
jobs.
All of them, holidays, everything.
Holidays.
And unfortunately, we missed one of the most exciting races we've had recently in Austria. But we're not going to talk about that today, because today we're going to talk about Silverstone, aren't we?
Oh, quick, wait. Everyone wait.
God damn it. I've got my hat somewhere. But
I'm not gonna keep wearing this because it's about 30 degrees in this house.
It's gonna be way too warm, but well done, mate.
Yeah, cheers. I remembered.
Yes, I didn't, and I'm really annoyed at myself now. For anyone who's listening on the audio, Josh is wearing a Silverstone beanie hat, which we bought. I got one too when we went to Silverstone earlier in the year. Didn't we?
At Silverstone, yeah. Unfortunately, not the past weekend, but
yeah, sadly. But we did go to see some GT cars race around there, and it was epic. And I don't know about you, mate, but I watched the British Grand Prix this weekend, and part of me was now looking at it going, I was there. Like, I was at that track. Not then, but like, yeah, I've been to that corner.
Every time the stand that we sat in was on TV, I was like, that was the stand I sat in.
I sat near where that guy sat right now. Yeah, I did that. It's pretty cool. People who've been to multiple Grand Prix, it must be so cool to watch races and be like, oh yeah, I've been at Spa. I've been there. The goal, I think, is to now get to a British Grand Prix.
Well, to be fair, any Grand Prix will do.
Yeah.
The British will be nice. Crazy. I know it was like a record-breaking year, wasn't it? Like 480,000 people over the course of the weekend, which is just insane.
That is bonkers. I mean, absolutely bonkers.
Obviously, we know firsthand how big the place is. It is just, you couldn't imagine unless you're being, you have no idea how big that place is. The infrastructure is wild, but still 480,000 people.
Yeah. It's
over the course of like the 3 or 4 days is just ludicrous.
It is bonkers. It's bonkers. It's definitely something I want to get to at some point. But, you know, we just had to kind of watch it on the telly instead, didn't we? You know.
Well.
And I'll tell you what, it was pretty enjoyable.
It was. I was dying on the couch.
Yeah.
Watching it. So the only time I made it out of bed on Sunday was for the race, and then I was straight back into bed. I was just willing Max to just hurry up so I could go back to bed.
Just win it, mate. Come on. You did have what was it? Food poisoning? You had a case of
food poisoning. So real quick, I started a new job last week, and we thought on Friday, you know what? Let's celebrate the ending of the first week and go to Jibby. Boy, was that a mistake. Boy, was that a mistake.
Will ruin Josh's weekend.
Yeah, literally a few hours later, we were both vomiting and all the rest of it. I have lost like 5 or 6 pounds though, which is like sweet.
Through eating a chippy as well. Win-win.
It's like the cheapest diet plan I've ever had.
Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Yeah, that's not the way to watch a race though.
No, not really.
Just kind of sitting there going, I also didn't actually, well, I didn't get to watch the race live. I had to catch up on it and qualifying all in one go because I was on holiday this weekend, which was quite nice.
You were in God's back garden, weren't you?
I was in Wales. I was in Anglesey. So yeah, I came back and just decided to binge watch the race weekend. And I'll tell you what, it was quality.
You must have as well, because I'm pretty sure you text me about 11 a.m. I've just watched the whole race.
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't. I had to manage to avoid all spoilers, which is, you know, I mean, F1 has definitely got a lot bigger over the years. It used to be pretty easy to avoid spoilers. Considering I was in Anglesey, which is a tiny little island off the coast of Wales, I was in a cafe, and some guy sat down at a table like across from us, stuck his phone on the table, and he was watching the build up to the race, and I was like, oh god.
I think also with that kind of stuff, obviously F1 as a whole has got much bigger, but especially when it's the British Grand Prix, it seems to invite a lot more eyes on it, because I know people like, for instance, my mum and dad, would never watch the race. Usually they may follow the results, but if the British Grand Prix is on, they will watch it. It's kind of like Wimbledon. No one watches tennis, but when Wimbledon's on, now they give it a watch because it's Wimbledon.
It's a special race, isn't it?
Mm.
A special race, but yeah. So I guess we're going to jump into our driver ratings for Silverstone, but they are going to be a bit abridged because, as I say, I watched it in some sort of like tired haze, and you watched it in an ill haze.
Yeah.
So we will. Yeah. Should we jump into our driver ratings? Let's go straight to it. Let's hit the ground running.
3: Verstappen, Norris, Hamilton all get a 10.
Nice. Oh, okay. Right, that's interesting.
Over to you.
I've given Verstappen a 9.
Why?
He was almost perfect, but he had a bit of a poor start, but then he gained it back and then he won again.
See, I'm convinced he did it on purpose just to give Lando a bit of,
just for some fun.
Yeah, go and lead that. Go and lead your home race.
Genuinely, though, he did not have a great start. And I think like he had a really good little battle with Piastri, but Piastri nearly got him.
Yeah, he did.
So
I was saying,
I can knock a point off there, can't I? Because otherwise, every single one of these reviews, we're going to rate Max 10. And
to be fair, though, he's like a machine at the minute.
He's a beast.
Like, he doesn't really do much wrong, and if he does do something wrong, he will correct it.
Yeah,
rather quick.
So I'm going to start. That's going to be. I'm going to be harsher on him now because let's admit it, winning a race is just. It's an okay performance from Max now.
Yeah.
So if he misses the apex of turn 7 on lap 35, I'm not going to point off.
Some people go through their whole lives dreaming of winning one race, but
and Max is just doing it in his sleep. So yeah, 9 out of 10. You gave him a 10 out of 10. Nice. I probably don't need to ask why, do I? Norris, yep. I think the 10 out of 10 from me and from you is pretty self-explanatory there. Dude,
what a week for McLaren.
On fire. Yeah, like just out of nowhere. Like we've kind of been a bit harsh on McLaren, and not without reason because the car has been, I think, as we said, poo. How do you do one update and just suddenly like overtake about 4 teams?
Now you say it comes out the blue, but who is? I can't remember his name. What's the guy at McLaren, the head honcho there?
Zach Brown.
No. Is he like head of development? Andrea something, yeah.
Yeah.
He came
Stella,
out.
Is it? I think.
Maybe. He came out not too long ago and said that when the upgrades hit, we will be up there with Red Bull, and everyone kind of laughed at him.
Yeah.
But to be fair, he's nailed it.
Yeah. I think it was one of those where you're like, right, okay, you're right at the back. How's that going to happen? And fair play to them because as far as I'm aware as well, it's a set of upgrades. So I think they've got about 75% of the upgrades that they're bringing in the next couple of races on Lando's car, and 50% on Oscar's. So there's still more to come.
Mm-hmm.
Go on, McLaren.
I know. We could start seeing things getting a little bit interesting at the front of the grid. See, just real quick, that's where obviously we'll get on Sergio Perez in a bit. That's where Max is really going to need a teammate who's qualifying up the grid and helping him out. Because I was watching it with my partner, and she like dips in and out, but she was like, "Wow, like Max isn't leading out of turn 1. What's going on?" And I was like, "Well, part of that is that Norris just got a much better start off the line, but he's got no backup at all. He's sort of exposed, especially when it was the 2 McLarens behind him. He was just exposed, and they could just do whatever they wanted with him, really. So he couldn't really chase Lando because he was keeping Oscar behind him. And
yeah, exactly.
That's when you need your wingman. And that's
where it gets really tricky. Is if say, for example, you have 2 McLarens behind him, and then there's a late safety car, because the strategy goes up in the air then. Because does Max pit for new tires? McLaren can leave one of their drivers out. So they can pit to cover him, but they can leave one out. So then Max is in a McLaren sandwich. Yeah. I mean, we'll get on to Perez, but that's definitely one to keep an eye on. Fair play to McLaren, and stunning drive from Lando. That win's coming. He's going to get it. Lewis, 9 out of 10 I've given him. I think he was spot on. I think he did a great job. He struggled a little bit at the start, and he did qualify in P7.
I think, did he go down to P9? Did he?
Yeah, he ran wide. and then just kind of dropped down, but then just kind of gobbled his way back all the way up to the top again. The only thing, like, it was amazing seeing him on the podium, and it was amazing seeing him racing against Lando. I do think he kind of looked into that podium a little bit, because I think Oscar probably should have been there. But he you know, we all know he's an amazing driver, and he put on an amazing
so good around that
performance.
track as well.
Yeah, and do you know what? Hearing the crowd scream every time he made an overtake or Norris made an overtake, you know, like it was something else. Like
The
that
screen
level of
when
support.
Lando led after turn 1,
Oh, it was mad, wasn't it?
or when he went on like provisional pole for a bit.
Yeah, it's so good. So yeah, I gave him a 9 out of 10 just because of that rocky start and maybe not quite getting everything out of it in quali, because I think George qualified higher up, didn't he? But you know, he's Lewis. He's a beast around Silverstone. Everyone knows he is. And he nailed P3. P4, Oscar Piastri. I've given him a 10 out of 10 because I honestly don't think he did anything wrong. He's a beast, and he just got unlucky that he got caught out by that safety car when he'd already pit, because that should have and could have been a podium. Sorry, should have and would have been a podium. And I just love the way he fought Max. You don't see a rookie. Well, you don't often see a rookie go in with that much confidence against the guy who's leading the championship. So keeping it clean and keeping it, like, you know, his racecraft was really good. So yeah,
that's what I was so worried about that as a Red Bull fan. I was so worried that something was going to happen there.
Did you panic when they went round Cops?
A little bit, yeah.
And it was like, oh, I've seen this before.
A little bit.
Yeah. And then Max kicked up all the dust, and it was like, oh my God, what? And then it was fine. But yeah, Piastri just kept on him, and I loved watching that. Like, he's a beast, and so unlucky to not have a podium from that, because he did everything right. How did you rate him?
I would have given him a 9.
Fair dues.
Yeah,
fair dues.
Not really much to add, to be honest.
Just solid all round. Though that pairing of Piastri and Norris is something else, isn't it?
Oh, it's not going to be together for much longer, though.
Sadly, I don't think so. In P5, we've got Mr. Russell. I gave him a 9 out of 10. Solid driving, and he was a bit of a tyre whisperer on the soft tyres at the start.
Also give him a 9. So just for anyone watching, we do driver ratings. I got excited by some breaking news.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I only actually rated the first 5. So from here on in,
this is going to be random for Josh now.
It's going to be just me. I've got on the TV, I've got the you know, all the stuff, and I'll just make something up.
Yeah, I like that. P6, Sergio Perez.
Oh, I will give him a 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've to be fair, I've gone 3.
To be fair, 3 is still pretty dire.
3 is bad. I'm saying like 5's middle of the road. So yeah, 3. Honestly, it's getting a bit silly now. Like, watching qualifying and seeing him drop down to P16 and then stay 16th and then not get out Q1 again in what is by far the fastest car on the grid. Like,
I'm sure I've seen, either you'll be able to correct me or like people in the comments will. I'm sure I seen some stat, and I'm sure it was Hulkenberg has got out of Q1 more times than Sergio Perez this season, which is absolutely, if that's the one I've got right.
Yeah.
Or equal times or something like that.
Yeah, there's a few drivers who are equal to him. I think Albon's equal to him in qualifying.
He's a beast.
Well, he is, but like, it's bad. I mean, for Perez to be struggling this much in quali, not good. And he did an okay recovery drive up to 6th, but like, it's 6th place, and you know, like, you're in a Red Bull, mate. So yeah, there isn't any excuse, and I think his seat is looking less and less safe the more he does this.
To be honest, I think the position's untenable now.
Mm.
I think I think people like Helmut Marko and Christian Horner, they're like ruthless. And I'm surprised he's still there now.
Yeah.
or at least an announcement hasn't been made for after the summer break, because that is just like unacceptable.
It's bad, isn't it?
It's unacceptable.
Not good.
There's no excuse for it.
No, and you know, the sights are on him because it like, you know, 3 in a row, like, oh, not great. 5 in a row, I think it is now. Dude, come on. Like, how far is this going to carry on for? Like, it's going to be a miracle if he does get into Q3 at this rate. It's insane. And
the crowd will go wild.
Yeah. And I think as well, there's a point about I saw an interview with him where he said, oh, it was because like I was sitting at the end of the pit lane for too long before going out. And that's as maybe, but like there were Williams cars sat behind him in the pit lane. Yeah, he was first, but the Williams came out soon after and sat behind him and they got through. So, dude, don't come on. Like, I think there's a what's the word? I guess like a rumor around Helmut Marko that, or not even a rumor. I think a few of the drivers have said that if you start making excuses for bad performances, he loses his rag with you. I think Max has said that like if you're just straightforward and honest, he's all right. But if you start making excuses, and to be honest, sounds like a bit of an excuse to me.
Yeah,
it's getting there.
Clutching straws, isn't he?
Yeah, so not good. P7, Fernando Alonso. I've given him an 8 out of 10. The car didn't have that much pace, and he just did really well to sort of maximize what he could do with it. Great defense in the last few laps against Albon, which is not a sentence I thought I'd ever say, but fair play.
That Williams is so quick in a straight line.
It's a monster, isn't it?
It is an absolute rocket ship in a straight line, that car.
But yeah, so 8 out of 10 for Fernando. How did you
I would have given him a 7, I think. It's an interesting one with Aston Martin, really quick, because I think obviously they started the season as probably the second best team, but amid all the upgrades coming in, you've kind of, I suppose it's the first or second race where it's been apparent, but they've kind of fell in the pack a bit.
Yeah.
So obviously it looks like the likes of Mercedes and McLaren have jumped them.
Yeah.
Ferrari, Christ knows what's happening with Ferrari. Maybe
Ferrari could jump them if they could just do a race without like doing something stupid. But
even both Williams like were ahead of Stroll.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I know.
it's true, but yeah, I think I get what you say. I think the interesting thing about this season is it seems like it's such a big swing between different tracks, because obviously different tracks have different characteristics. So you'll get something where it's loads of traction zones and straights, and then you get something where it's like high speed corners and stuff. And for whatever reason, I think the Aston doesn't suit the sort of high speed corners that we've had at Silverstone and stuff. I think Hungary is next, and that's supposed to be a lot more like Monaco, where Aston were really quick at. So I think it'll just keep swinging depending on what track you're on.
Do you not think Silverstone is a really good example of a track with everything? It's got a couple of super long, fast straights. It's got like the Maggots and Beckett's, the really fast, high-speed corners. And towards the end of the lap, it's got like the really tight, slow corners as well.
Sort of. I think the biggest thing is the sort of Maggots, Beckett's complex and Cops and things like that, where they're super fast. But yeah, I don't know. I think the car suits different bits, but who knows? Because I think that's one of the things that it's very tempting to look at the result and go, McLaren are right in the mix now, and it's like next race they might not be again. Like it swings massively. I mean, I hope they are, but it swings so massively between Grand Prix. It's mental. I don't think I've ever seen a season like this where different cars are super strong on different tracks. It's wild. And talking about different cars being super strong on specific tracks, P8, Alex Albon, I have given him a 10 out of 10. And if you've not given him a 10 out of 10, we need to have a serious one.
Oh, fine.
Because, I mean, the dude put a Williams in P8. Yeah,
we touched on it before, didn't we? He's an absolute beast. And that Williams is so quick in a straight line. I know a few of the drivers said it. I don't know, they said it on comms as well, but it's probably even up there with the Red Bull in a straight line, if
it's
not
a
quicker.
Monster, isn't it? But he managed it really well in the wet where it wasn't doing well enough to qualify. I think he qualified P8 as well. And then just just bossed it through the race. He overtook a Ferrari legitimately. Like, come on, finished ahead of both Ferraris on pace. So yeah, 10 out of 10. Well done, Alex. Then we're in the depression corner. And this is a weird one, right? Because initially I was going to rate both Leclerc and Sainz quite low. But actually looking at their performances, I don't think that they did too much wrong, really. I've rated Leclerc 7 out of 10. And my note is literally just hard to rate because, like, what the hell, Ferrari? Like, it's like he drove well and he was hanging on ahead of Russell. And then suddenly Ferrari were like, do you know what? Let's just do something like random. Should we just pit? Let's just pit
off
now.
The cuff. Let's do it.
Just do it. Oh, I fancy a pit stop. Let's do the pit stop. And then they brought him in and then dropped him into a load of traffic and then just left him there.
You know, it's kind of like the strategy guys at Ferrari. I've got one of them things you used to have in school. Remember them things that used to be with that?
The little like paper thing where
stop.
It's like, okay, and then blue, and then pick a number 4. Pit for wets. Okay, sweet. Let's do it. Yeah, honestly, I don't know what they were doing there. God knows. Like, have they just got an octopus sat in a tank with like he holds up different signs saying like?
No, because he'd be good. Do you remember him in the World Cup?
Yeah, true. Actually, you've predicted it really well. Yeah, maybe they need to get an octopus in a tank.
Hank in the tank.
Octopus. Yeah, it just so. I rated Leclerc 7 because I thought he was doing well to hang on until Ferrari just completely destroyed his race. How would you rate him?
Yeah, maybe a 6. I think I'd have been a bit harsher than a 7. Yeah, I feel like a broken record when we talk about Ferrari because it's just always the same narrative.
It's boring, isn't it?
It's really, really boring. Yeah.
Like, how did they screw this up? I mean, it's boring and it's entertaining, which is but like,
don't even need to ask how they screwed it up.
No,
you just go,
well, basically you're just watching it, waiting for them to screw up.
Honestly, I don't really rate Sainz that well anyway. But how Leclerc keeps his patience with those people is just beyond me because he is too good for that shit show of a team.
Yeah, it's so poor now. Carlos Sainz, P10, I rated him the same because he's dealing with the same team. The one thing I did notice is that I feel like Sainz is getting a little political, a little kind of tetchy about his teammate. There were a couple of calls where, and I think it happened in Austria as well, where he comes over the radio and he's kind of, I don't know, it's like pushing a little bit, pushing the team, going like, hang on, like treat me as well as Leclerc and
drive as well as him then.
I think he's trying to push to be sort of top dog, which, you know, he's been more consistent so far, but yeah, it was a little strange to see, and maybe the relationship's not gonna, you know, carry on with Sainz and Leclerc because they seem to get on okay, but then he got fucked by Ferrari anyway, so who cares? P10. Good job, solid job, guys. You know, qualified P4 and P5, finished P9 and P10. Amazing.
I give him a 5. Next.
Logan Sargent in P11. Oh, he got so close to points, man. So close. Well done, Logan. I think like we've quite rightly battered him for his past few races, but there was always like, you know, there had been occasional flashes of speed from him. I remember in Jeddah, like being like, "Whoa, come on, dude!"
Well, I think I'll come back to like the start of the season. I think we both had him penned as one of the most like exciting rookies that were.
Yeah, I mean, out of the 3, he was definitely the second most exciting.
Oh yeah,
yeah, exactly. Like right
to
there.
Be fair, when De Vries was one of them, if you're not second, well,
I mean, God, I mean. I don't know. Yeah, he'd have to do very well to not be second, but
he'd have to put it in reverse.
Yeah, just forget to get in the car. Toilet stops mid-race, something. I don't know. But yeah, P11. I know that like apparently he doesn't really know or hasn't really known a lot of the previous tracks that well. He hasn't had as much experience. and he has had more experience at Silverstone, and apparently goes quite well there. So solid job. Bit of a shame, he was right on the back of Stroll and that kind of train of cars, so it wasn't like he was 20 seconds back and he's just inherited P11. He did inherit P11 because of Stroll's penalty, but then you got to be in it to win it, and his points, like his first points, they're coming. He's going to get them.
Yeah, he's knocking on the door, isn't he? Well, he was.
He is. I rated him 7 out of 10. How did you?
Yeah, I would have given him exactly the same. Yeah.
Nice. Next, we got Bottas, P12. I've given him a 6 because he was okay. I feel like he's done well to be 12, but he was just a bit invisible.
There's been a weird narrative. I know we've touched on it a few times with Bottas across the whole season. It's just that he has been very invisible. Yeah. He's just been like, at the start, he had a few really, really, really horrific results where he was like last and around those places.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just been sort of non-existent, which is crazy because, I mean, when he was with Mercedes, I always rated him. I know he had a really good car, but rated him as a really solid, good driver. And I'm sure he still is, but
the car's not
what's
there,
going on. I know the car's really not there, but
I mean, talking about the car not being there, I think it applies to quite a few of the next results. We've got Hulkenberg in 13th. Yep. I gave him a 6 as well because he qualified 11th, but yeah, Haas is so bad in the race. It's just
they have 2. I know it was Magnussen, wasn't it? That had 2.
Yeah,
lots of like engine failure over the hydraulics failure, but it wasn't him.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure as well because he had it in quali, didn't he, Magnussen? And then they give him quali
and then the race.
Yeah, they give him a new engine, and the same thing happened.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've seen that on Ted's notebook, which is just mad.
Yeah, not good. How would you rate Hulk?
5. Let's go down the middle.
Nice. Next one's definitely not going to be down the middle. P14, Lance Stroll. I've given him a 1 out of 10. Absolutely horrible weekend. Bad qualifying.
Yeah.
Really bad race. Clumsily ruined Gasly's race as well, doing a Stroll, just driving into stuff. And he qualified 12th as well. I mean, I know the Aston didn't have pace, but come on, mate. And then don't get a 5-second penalty by like just pinballing someone off the track as well.
Yeah, it didn't have pace, but when you are always compared to your teammates first and foremost, aren't you? And it's like Alonso put it on P7. For a car that doesn't have pace, P7's not too bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So, Alonso's picking up the points, and Stroll is going to cost Aston a lot in the constructors, because the other top teams have 2 capable drivers, and like Stroll will have a decent race every now and again. I think he had a decent one in Spain, but you can't be just. I mean, look at Perez. Perez has had a decent race every now and again, and like it's not good enough. Like Stroll is really, really, really going to cost Aston. Because at least with Red Bull, Perez finishing 12th every race or whatever he's doing, at least Max has got enough points to win the constructors regardless. No one's challenging them. But the fight below them is pretty tight in the constructors, and Aston are going to lose because of Stroll.
You seen how tight it was? That one good McLaren result jumped them straight up to 5th or something.
Exactly, and so, Aston are already fared, aren't they? I think because Mercedes.
Yeah, I think so. Mercedes are ahead. Yeah.
And then Ferrari and McLaren, you've got to think that on average are going to finish ahead of Stroll. I mean, maybe not Ferrari because they'll just do stupid stuff, but McLaren, if they're looking decent, Alpine even are going to start taking points off people. If Stroll's finishing P14 every now and again, it's just not enough.
And the thing is, they're not gonna pull the plug on him either because they're just not, are they? So
no, but
they're always gonna kind of have that massive handicap if he doesn't improve. So
yeah, maybe they need to start thinking about it. Maybe someone needs to just take one for the team, quite literally, and just go into Stroll's office and be like, "Hey, Lawrence, I know he's your son, but do you want to just do
you want to win things?"
Got a nice job in catering, which maybe he'd enjoy, I don't know. Anyway, that was Stroll, P14. P15, Joe, 5, because it was hard to rate. It was just, again, like Bottas, invisible. The car is poo. Give me a number.
The same, really. The last 3 now of the finishes are the same. They're just...
Yeah.
They're just nothing, are they? They're just...
Yeah. Well, give me a number for Joe, and then we'll jump on to Tsunoda.
4.
4. Okay. And then Tsunoda, 5. AlphaTauri is just bad. You can't do anything with it. So.
Yeah, I would say the same, but I still rate Joe as a driver.
Yeah.
I think he's got a few, like, with
Joe. Oh yeah. We've jumped onto Tsunoda there.
Oh, sorry. I was still looking at Joe on the screen. I'm going to continue talking about Joe.
Rewind.
Yeah, really bad car, but whereas maybe another of the rookies, you can still see he has a lot of potential.
Yeah, I like the guy.
So I would never be too harsh on him. So no, that the same really. Like the car's not great, but he is quite obviously a very capable, good young driver with like a big future ahead of him.
Hopefully. It's a hard one because it's how do you rate him when his teammate is awful and his car's awful. He sounded so annoyed. I don't know if you heard his radio at the end of the race.
I didn't know.
He was just like, guys, like, come on. And then I think he said, I know why it's slow, which is interesting. So maybe he's worked something out, but he just sounded a bit pissed off, which you would be if you put your heart into it and finished 16th. But at least he finished ahead of. Sorry, did you give me a number for Tsunoda then? I've
4.
given him a 5. You go 4. And then we've got Nick de Vries. I've actually, in fairness, I've given him a 4 for this one just because he was reasonably close to Yuki. And he didn't, as far as I know, I don't think he crashed anyone off the track or anything, which is like, for Nick, it's.
You can't do that when you're 40 seconds behind everyone else. You know what I mean?
That's true. That is true.
3.
I've given him a 4 because I said he wasn't last. So there you go.
But
I'm sure
last of the finishers.
He was, but he was, yeah. But I'm sure in races to come, he'll just, hopefully he'll progress and he'll get better and better,
and somehow develop an Aussie accent. Anyway,
maybe change his name, and then we've got 3 DNFs. Got Gasly. I actually gave him an 8 out of 10 because I think he just kind of got his weekend ruined by Stroll.
Yeah, they're going 7.
Yeah. Did you see him getting angry at Sainz as well? He seems very, very grumpy. Gasly.
Yeah, he did. He sort of poked him, didn't he?
Yeah, he was just like, yeah, he seems a bit grumpy at the moment, which is a bit weird. But then I would be if I just kept on getting like.
He's had a series of unfortunate events, hasn't he?
He has. Magnussen.
Really tough to rate because, as I said, there's 2 issues weren't really his fault.
I've given him a 5.
What do you want to do? Yeah, 5. Go down the middle because there's not more he could have done.
It's just like the car went pop twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So poor guy. And then last, Esteban Ocon. I gave him a 5.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Just qualified 13th. Gasly qualified 10th, and then the car went poo. And he had to come in and retire. So, sad times.
There's a few of these drivers who should retire, which leads us on to the next thing.
Well, let me hold you. Let me hold you. Hold your horses. You're nearly there. You've nearly made it. We've also got to rate the Grand Prix as a whole out of 10. And now, you probably haven't done this yet, so I'll do mine. I'll let you think about it a little bit. I've rated it a 9 out of 10 because quali was a banger. It was a really good qualifying session. The race was great. Lots of action, great drama, really good racing. It felt like something was going to happen most of the time. And then we had like a little late safety car just to spice things up again. Ferrari, just shot themselves in the face again. We had McLaren just pop up and suddenly be competing right at the top end. There were lots of overtaking opportunities and lots of overtakes happening. Yeah, it was just a good race. It flew by. I really enjoyed it.
I would fully agree. Not much wrong with that one. It's like, what was it? 52 lap race. But at least 5 of those, it looked like someone was a genuine threat to Max.
Yeah,
so it's like,
yeah. Exactly. Someone other than Max led laps. So
it's a bit exciting up there. Yeah.
Safety car bunched the field back up again, so Max didn't get a run away.
Yeah. Well, he did after that. No.
Yeah.
He
True.
did.
True. He did after a bit, but he didn't finish like 95 seconds ahead like usual. And also, Damian Lewis sang the national anthem.
Oh my God, I completely forgot about that.
What was that? Yeah. Who goes? Do you know what? I'm gonna sing the national anthem, but I want to do it with just one instrument accompanying me. What instrument do you want, Damien? Do you want someone playing piano? Nah. Do you want a guitar? No. Mandolin? Maybe like a ukulele? No. I want a saxophone. I'm gonna sing the national anthem, and then I want a saxophone just playing random things.
Whilst he was terrible, did you see his band were playing there?
I did not.
Yeah,
maybe he should have brought them for the anthem.
I was watching. I think it was the Quali Notebook.
Yeah.
And on one of the stages, Damian Lewis's band were playing. He's the frontman. They're not. Well, he's not very
playing.
So I'm assuming he was like, "Hey, I'm here. I'll do it for you. I'm a big name guy." And also, just before we do draw the line under the Silverstone, there's one more beautiful thing that I want to add, and you'll only have seen this if you watched Ted's race notebook. Did you watch it?
I did not, sadly.
Watch it.
Go on.
And anyone watch it, because I'm not lying. Ted was doing his little walk around, going through all the teams, and then he stopped at the facade of the new Brad Pitt.
Oh, yes.
Film with the garages and Brad Pitt's character and his teammates' character and the sort of set, if you will. Looked down to his notebook and said, and didn't even laugh after he said this, by the way. And I don't even think he corrected himself. He said Brad Tit. Brad Tit's Pitt. And he just sort of carried on. And later on, he said Brad Pitt again. He went, oh, got it right this time.
Oh, Ted.
Ted's such a bitch.
I love Ted. Yeah. That was interesting watching. I think Apple are developing a film around F1, aren't they? And they were shooting scenes. That was quite interesting to see. They managed to keep all of it out of the TV coverage because the two cars were actually on the grid for the warm-up. Well, not for the lap round to the grid. They had two extra cars on the grid, which is this fantasy team. That's
I didn't know that. I seen them go round on their own.
Yeah.
Beforehand, but I didn't know they were on the outlet.
Yeah, they're actually on the grid. It's kind of mad, really, because I don't know whether they're just doing it at Silverstone, but yeah, they had two people driving them for the lap to the grid, and then they kind of just shuffled them out of the way really quickly. But they didn't show it on the broadcast. Obviously, they were really clever about keeping that out. And yeah, they've been kind of shooting stuff as the weekend goes on. I'm really curious to see this film.
Well, apparently they're shooting it all season.
Are they?
So Ted has said about Brad Pitt and his group. Apparently they're sort of going to follow certain races throughout the calendar. Probably not everyone, but makes certain sense. Races, and doing a bit of filming.
Yeah, could be interesting. It's been being directed by the guy who shot the latest. The latest. The only what was it? The Tom Cruise film, Top Gun Maverick.
Okay.
Which was phenomenal because they put the cameras inside jet planes, fighter jets, and had the actors reacting to it. And it was it's a cracking film. So I'm really excited to see this because
I hope it's good. Yeah, a lot of racing films are a bit.
They do the whole thing, don't they?
And
you know, when you watch a racing film and it's like someone's going to overtake someone else, so they just change gear. There's always that. They're pulling up alongside,
drop it into like
change gear, and then they're off, and it's like, yeah, sure.
You've been watching too many Vin Diesel movies.
Yeah, Fast and the Furious 75. But yeah, okay. So that sort of
we done with Silverstone.
Our Silverstone.
We're done with Silverstone.
And cool. There's a little bit of breaking news, which for I think the first time ever, we are recording this podcast an hour after the news broke.
If that. if that.
I know you've been excited about this. I know you've been like barely holding yourself together through the ratings.
I have been excited about a couple of news stories that I've seen. And I hope you haven't seen the second one. You probably have. It's a little bit older than the one we're going to talk about first. But it still came out today.
Okay. Well, the stage is yours, mate.
Oh, okay.
Let's do breaking news with Josh Taylor.
So, God, I feel so under pressure now. I've been waiting to talk about this the whole episode. Basically, for anyone who doesn't know, which I'm sure by the time this goes out and you're a Formula One fan, you will know of, Nick de Vries is no more in Formula One. Oh. Everyone is not surprised. I'm shocked. What?
He was doing so well.
Yeah. Regularly last, which was nice. And he's going to be replaced by none other than everyone's favourite honey badger Australian smiley man, Daniel Ricciardo. Hey, fireworks.
Hey.
I am so excited to see him back on the grid. I'm not even that arsed to talk about de Vries getting sacked because he's crap. He's rubbish. One of the worst drivers I've ever seen. But to have him back on the grid, even though it is only on loan to the end of the season, will be so good. And I'm so interested to see what he can do in that car. Because as we've just said, the car's not great. So I hope he can put in some decent performances and maybe, hopefully, definitely get himself a seat for next season.
Yeah, opens a lot of questions, doesn't it? I don't really want to go too much into Mr. de Vries either because, dude, I mean, it's harsh. It's harsh, but F1's harsh. He joined and told them to not treat him like a rookie because he had the experience. They haven't treated him like a rookie. He gone. And it's a shame, dude. But
has there been many worse rookies?
Probably, but like.
Oh, I'm sure there has been a select few, but
in recent memory, I mean, do you know what? At least he seems like a nice dude because we did have Mazepin a couple of seasons ago who was just an all-round knobhead and couldn't drive. So at least de Vries is a nice guy that just can't drive.
It was evident very early on that he was so out of his depth.
It's brutal, isn't it? Because like obviously the car is terrible and he got so hyped up with his Williams result, which is still his best result in Formula One, having done 10 more races. But it's one of those. I don't understand why he was in AlphaTauri. I'll be honest, and it's easy for me to say now, but I feel like I've been saying this all along. I don't get why he was there because AlphaTauri is a development team. They test people out, and the best people they will put in the Red Bull. And Nick was never going to go into that Red Bull because he's like nearly 30.
It always felt to me like he was just holding the seat for someone else.
Yeah, I kind of think he was.
I don't think that's Daniel Ricciardo either, by the way.
No.
But obviously he's just the best option that they've got now to put in that car. But it just felt to me like he was a placeholder, which is, if they didn't tell him that, really rough. Like,
it's brutal, yeah.
That is really harsh because...
But that's it, because he didn't have a future, did he? There wasn't anything lined up that he'd then go to, unless he somehow won a race.
What would have happened? Well, not even that. What would have happened if he regularly put that car in the points?
Well, see, then I think people would have sat up. If he'd have absolutely demolished Tsunoda, I think people would have been like, ooh.
Would they still have put him in the Red Bull?
Yeah, exactly.
Nah.
Would they have swapped him for Perez? I don't think so, yeah.
Doubtful.
So, it's just a bit I don't know. I feel for him because I feel like living your whole life, putting everything into getting to Formula One and then that being your legacy in Formula One.
Oh man, it's everyone who loves Formula One secretly thinks they could do it.
Yeah.
Obviously that is so not the case.
I mean, you might think you could do it. I know.
But if someone called you right now, if Helmut Marko called you right now and said, "Listen, Alex, I've seen your displays in iRacing. I want to just pop you in that AlphaTauri for the rest of the season," you'd say yeah, because you'd be a fool to say no.
Oh yeah, you'd say yeah.
But
and then you'd immediately bin it 25 times in a row.
But then you would look an idiot, and then your heart would still break when they said, "Mate, get out, you're crap." Like it's still rough because anyone can put themselves in that situation. Like it's your dream, innit?
Yeah.
And you've got to your dream, and then you've been told you're nowhere near good enough. Get out.
Yeah. And do you know what?
Where'd you go?
Do you know what, mate? On that, let's end our time talking about Nick de Vries with a little bit of a positive on it. Fair play.
Oh, he made
Fair play. He gave it a shot, didn't he? Like, and you can't argue with him and question him for that. I'm sure he'll go on to do like GT racing or supercar racing. I'm sure he'll be good.
I was going to say, I'm sure he'll be really good.
Just F1 wasn't his thing, and there's no shame in that. So fair play, Nick.
Not for everyone.
No, there's a few of us who make it, and Nick clearly wasn't cut out to smash it in Formula One.
It's so funny because we said we're not going to talk about Nick de Vries.
And then we've just talked about him for like 20 minutes. But Daniel Ricciardo is back. You're excited to see him. I'm excited to see him as well. I'm also very, very nervous. I'm not going to lie.
Well, no. You're wrong. Because,
do you think?
Yeah. I'm excited to see him because he's Daniel Ricciardo. And everyone wants to see him on the grid because he's just the feel good factor, isn't he?
Mm.
But I think this is almost a win-win for him. Because, yeah, kind of, because the car's a pig.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So basically, he's only going to get compared to Yuki.
Yeah, and I would fancy him to challenge Yuki.
Yeah,
I think Yuki. I don't know. In a few seasons, it may appear that he's got a bit of a higher ceiling, and he may go on to do whatever. But I think he's only going to realistically, and if anyone thinks otherwise, they're just living in their own world because he's only realistically going to be compared to Tsunoda because the car is a pig.
Yeah.
And so I do think it's a win-win. He's back on the grid, and if he can just put that car in the points once or twice, maybe, he's done what neither of them could.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, Yuki's got a few, but yeah, I know what you mean. Like here's how I'm looking at it. I feel like there's a very, very real danger that, well, I don't necessarily think it's a danger. I feel like Red Bull are pitting Yuki and Ricciardo against each other. And I feel like they're basically, I feel like what they're doing is they're going, God, Perez is shit. And we need to have someone who we can replace him with. Because if he keeps on just driving outside the track limits and qualifying P20 and then, going, great recovery, guys. They're like, we need someone who's stronger than that. We need to get rid of him. Who do we get? And there's obviously drivers outside the Red Bull program that they could try and approach, but inside their program, they have Tsunoda and Ricciardo at the moment in Formula One, and then they've got a couple of juniors. They've got Lawson in Super Formula, and they've got Iwasa who's in Formula 2 at the moment. And then potentially, I think there's a rumor around Hello, I think it is, who's an IndyCar driver who is competing for the and winning the championship at the moment. So I don't know why you'd move if you're in that position. So basically, I think what they're doing is they're going, right, Yuki hasn't really had a yardstick to compare him against because De Vries is terrible. Let's put Ricciardo in there because we know Ricciardo is pretty decent. And then I think whoever wins out over the next however many races we've got left, 13 races or whatever, if we need to replace Perez, we'll move the winner up. If Yuki beats Ricciardo, I honestly think that's the end of Ricciardo's Formula One career.
Yeah, but I think because I've seen a post from him, or he said in an interview that ending his career in the Red Bull would be like a dream fairy tale ending for him. So I think the wording of that being a fairy tale ending, he probably knows that's not going to happen. I don't think he's got a future in the Red Bull bubble, but I would hope that he would get a seat somewhere.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I think if Ricciardo beats Tsunoda, I think that they'd probably, or if he's like, he's performing insanely well, I do think that they would consider moving him up to Red Bull. So I don't think it's an impossible.
Not forever, though.
No, but I think he'd be, if he's solid, he'd be a decent second driver to Max.
Because this leads me so nicely onto my next thing that I want to talk to you about. And I need to be quick because I can hear a mum with a screaming baby who needs help.
Uh-oh.
I don't know if you've seen this. I only seen it before. But Lando Norris's agent has been spotted yesterday meeting with Helmut Marko.
Ooh.
Now, as we know, Lando Norris's contract with McLaren doesn't run out until 2025. However, I am now sure if there is any wiggle room,
he's trying to wiggle.
He's going to try and wiggle.
Do you think?
Why wouldn't he?
It's a hard on that, isn't it? Because, yes, I totally get it. But I don't know. I feel like if McLaren are still putting upgrades on that car, Lando is unquestionably the team leader at McLaren.
Golden boy, isn't he? And rightly so.
Yeah. Like, could McLaren start to challenge Red Bull? I mean, maybe they could start competing for race wins at some point this year. And if they start competing for race wins, well, then maybe next year there's a championship. Maybe they could outdevelop Red Bull somehow because they'll have a lot more wind tunnel time. If you're Norris, do you take that seat? Yeah. It's such a. I honestly, I feel like 3 weeks ago it would have been a no-brainer, and you'd be like, "Oh my god, you'd be the stupidest person in the world if you didn't take that." Now you're basically saying, do you want to be lead driver at a team that is built around you in the same way that Red Bull pretty much is built around Max? Although you've got a more competitive second driver in Piastri. But yeah, you're unquestionably number one. And your team's looking more and more competitive. Do you leave that to go to essentially the second driver's seat to try and compete with a Terminator, which is just a robot who's programmed to just race, which is Max? Like, right. I don't know.
So I've been thinking about all this. And there is a world, however, where there is no wiggle room in Lando Norris's contract at all. 2025 is the year that he'll be open for discussion for other teams. Now, a certain Max Verstappen has said he doesn't really want a long-term future in Formula One.
Yep.
I can't remember when his contract runs out. It's 28.
28. Yeah.
Now, there is a world where he joins them in 2025. He is the understudy to Max for a couple of years and then is rightly so the lead driver there.
Yeah, potentially.
I guess.
Potentially, but I'll be honest. If Norris, but you're basically saying Norris would have to wait 5 years to then challenge. It's like I don't know.
Well,
there's also going to be a big shake-up in 26, isn't there?
That's just one area of thought. It could be that there is wiggle room in the contract, and he's going to go there as of next season. Like, you just don't know, do you? And maybe he really wants to drive that Red Bull, and he wants to be teammates with his best mate on the grid, and maybe Red Bull would offer him God knows how much money, and he's just like, yeah, that's a bit of me that I want to take the leap.
Yeah, potentially. I want to see where McLaren end up over the next 3 or 4 races.
Well, yeah, because as you've mentioned, they perform really well at Silverstone. The next race, they might not.
Yeah.
Lando might know that. He might know the car's getting better, but he might know it's not really P2 and P4. Well, just yet.
Spoilers. I think they've said that they struggle in the low speed corners.
Yeah.
And Hungary is a lot of low speed corners.
Yeah.
So
it might just be that, whereas that Red Bull doesn't really have a weakness, and the weaknesses it does have, its strengths outweigh them.
It's called Perez.
Oh, apart from him. But yeah, got about 12 stone of weakness there, but
no, it's a tough one. And if I know also Marko has praised Lando so many times, he very clearly wants Norris.
Well, in the same breath, he said, can I find it real quick? I can't remember, can't find the exact quote, but he essentially said that Lando is the most exciting driver on the grid.
Yeah,
I'm assuming apart from Max, maybe.
after Max, yeah. He like Marco loves him. So I wouldn't say it wouldn't happen. I'd say if you're Norris, yeah. I mean, the thing is, all these drivers have the self-confidence to go, do you know what? If I was in the same car as Max Verstappen, I'd wipe the floor with him. Perez clearly had that self-confidence about 6 races ago.
for at least a race, he had that self-confidence.
Yeah. So it's not out of the question at all. I just wonder whether, I don't know. I mean, you're stepping into a team that is built around Verstappen with a car that clearly a lot of other drivers have not found particularly easy to drive. And yeah, your teammate is the Formula One robot who just doesn't make mistakes and is a beast at everything. And then when he finishes racing at a Grand Prix weekend, he goes home and switches on iRacing and does like an endurance race or something. So you're up against that. I feel like that would be intimidating, but fair play. You know, wherever he does decide to go, I'd be honest. I'd like to see him stay at McLaren.
The curiosity in me would love to see him go. I would love to see that team pairing.
Yeah, it would be a beastly pairing as long as Lando could get up to speed, and I think he would. But I don't know. Yeah. It'd be nice to see Red Bull fighting each other, because at the moment we know who's going to win a race. Like pretty much. Like unless there's some sort of catastrophic event, Max is going to win in Hungary in a couple of weeks' time.
A DNF is pretty much the only thing that's going to stop him at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah. DNF or damage. So yeah.
To be honest, even damage.
Nice to see. Yeah. Just missing a wheel. Yeah. It's two very, very chunky pieces of news in it to digest. I definitely think the Ricciardo one is mental because there's a lot of I feel like he's proper swallowed his pride there, because there was a lot of I don't want to join a Haas, and I'll be honest, I thought he would never go to AlphaTauri.
Yeah, you've said
never in a million years. I was like, why would you do that? He obviously now thinks that it's his only way in,
and to maybe get back on the grid.
Yeah, and maybe he's also seeing the link to Red Bull as a very real possibility, and that he only has to beat Tsunoda.
What we have to remember is he will probably know the full story.
Oh yeah,
he will have known he's taken this seat for ages. This hasn't just been told to him an hour ago.
No,
like he will. I imagine he was sat down with Helmut and Christian Horner and whoever else, and he will know the path. They may have said to him, it might be bullshit, but they may have said to him, yeah, let's see how well you start performing. That Red Bull seat might be there for you. Or they might have said, listen, it doesn't matter how well you perform in this car, we're probably not going to put you in the Red Bull, but go and have a go anyway.
I'll be honest, mate. I think the Red Bull seat is open for him, because it's open to whoever performs the best and is potentially going to perform better than Perez, which isn't hard at the moment.
As a racing driver, he will fully believe that's him.
Exactly. So I get it. I don't know. I'm nervous for it. I'm not going to lie, because I love Ricciardo. I really like him.
I don't think he's got nothing to lose now.
Yeah, well, it's make or break essentially, isn't it? It's essentially beat Yuki, because if he doesn't, then I don't know what Red Bull will do. I don't know whether they'll just be like, right.
I think it's like a cut your loss thing, innit? Because he can't be any worse than Nick de Vries.
Oh yeah, no, totally. So, but I think like
Red Bull will win, innit?
Would they keep him another season in AlphaTauri? I don't know, unless they've got someone else to bring up who needs another year of development.
Liam Lawson's getting a lot of love at the minute, isn't he?
He is, but not from Red Bull by the look of it. So, it's weird. Yeah, I don't know. You're right. He's basically got nothing to lose. Ricardo's not got nothing to lose now, but he's also, well, sorry, he's got to drive as if he's got nothing to lose, but he has got everything to lose because if this doesn't work out, he ain't coming back. This is the end of his career.
But you could look at it as if he wasn't coming back anyway.
Exactly.
Where
else was he going to go?
And he was nowhere anyway.
Exactly. So, where else was he going to go? And if he went to Williams, there wasn't a potential step up to Mercedes or whoever is the fastest Mercedes powered team, which is not Mercedes, but there wasn't a step up. And if he went to Haas, there wasn't really a step up to Ferrari. So I guess that there's a small link from AlphaTauri to Red Bull. You've got to take it, but it's still kind of, I don't know. Yeah, I'm nervous. I want him to do well, but I also want Yuki to do well. I don't know. God damn it.
Dog eat dog world.
It is. Well, that has been a return to podcasting for both of us.
It's been a little marathon, that one.
It was. We knew we'd try to bash through it. We had a lot of news to cover and stuff. And
to be fair, we did, because we'd finished Silverstone in about 25 minutes.
And we're going to try and carry that form on in the next podcast. We're going to try and make them a bit snappier. We are struggling a little bit to try and fit these records in now because sort of life schedules and stuff have changed around a little bit. We'll do our best.
Massively.
Yeah, we'll do our best to get the pods out back on the sort of weekly schedule. They might be a little later. They might even be a bit earlier, depending on when we can slot in recordings.
The future goal is we're going to try and record Sunday immediately after the race if we can.
Yeah.
If we can't do that, it's kind of up in the air.
It is a bit. So we'll do our best. Let us know if you guys have enjoyed this one. Let us know your thoughts on the news. And we'll see you hopefully next week. We're going to try and probably do a recap of Austria a little bit and maybe cover some more news.
Some more developments. I'm sure that it will have been some by then.
We are. We'll also do the wheel of support because we got some positive feedback on that one. A few people, I think Lem on TikTok and a few other people really enjoyed that one. And you smashed it, mate. So we're gonna bring that one back again. We're gonna wheel that one out.
Blind rankings as well.
And Josh has got some more ideas, so we're gonna bosh through them. So that is all in the future. Tune in to make sure you catch them, and we'll obviously put up notices when the episodes are coming out, and we'll try and keep you guys posted. But in the meantime, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you soon.
Ciao, ciao.
Goodbye.